You've got the Mac and Mac guys, John McMullen and Jody McDonald here with you on a Free Agent Thursday on Birds 365 on the JAKIB Media YouTube channel. Thank you very much for streaming in with us. J-Mac, the first official day of the new year of the National Football League, when all those contracts we've been reporting for the last 3 days, all those agreements we've been reporting got made official yesterday. Eagles still at it. Nothing as earth-shattering as the first couple of days, but getting one of their more important players, a.k.a. their MVP from last season, but possibly locked up, taking care of Jake Elliott, their kicker for the next 4 years, signs a lengthy contract. You don't get kickers getting 4-year deals. You better be as good as Jake Elliott to command a 4-year deal.
Highest paid kicker in NFL history, tied Justin Tucker, too.
Yeah, and that's a pretty good guy to be tied with, who might be the best kicker in the history of the National Football League. Good on Jake Elliott. He's been that good, that clutch for the Philadelphia Eagles, and good on the Eagles for getting the deal done. By extending him, of course, it gives them leverage and flexibility to be able to move numbers around the way they want, and gives them a little extra money to play with this year. Does that mean they're going to be jumping into the linebacker market, Johnny Mac, now that they got extra money from getting Jake Elliott done?
Well, they're going to add a linebacker sometime, somewhere, someplace. Remember, last year it was August with Zach Cunningham. So, right. And Miles Jack. People forget Miles, but that didn't work out. So, once they got a look at what they had brought in, they had to go in a different direction. Yeah, I mean, we've been through this before. You know, Josina Anderson, who does a great job, and I know Eagles fans don't like her from the past, but she does a tremendous job, and she put the Eagles are still on the hunt for a linebacker, and I take issue with that. If they were hunting for a linebacker, they'd have a linebacker. They're trying to bargain shop for a linebacker. So semantics aside, they're going to add a linebacker, but I don't want to hear we're on the hunt for a linebacker. I mean, if you're on the hunt for a linebacker, you get something done. And forget about Patrick Queen at the top of the market, because I never thought they were going to go near that. And people say, well, you didn't think they'd go near Saquon Barkley, and that's true. So you never know. But clearly in Queen's case, they weren't involved. They never got involved. So, and then there was a bunch of guys that you thought, maybe that's a fit. Maybe that's an upgrade. Some of the guys that worked with people in the past, Al Shire with the new linebackers coach, Josie Jewell with Vic Fangio, Jerome Baker with Vic Fangio, and he's still out there. So, maybe that's still in play. He's one of the few guys with any kind of pedigree that's still out there. Blake Cashman, I thought, would be a good fit. Some of the veteran guys, big name guys, Bobby Wagner signed with the Commanders. Eric Kendrick signed with the Cowboys. I mean, I didn't expect him to go after guys like that. But maybe they should have. If they think they're a contender.
Let me ask you, why not? I get it. You're not going multi-year. You're not going big bucks. But they didn't get
I don't know. It's a legitimate question, because obviously they think they're still a contender. So what's the harm in going for a veteran player? I mean, I've argued that at running back with once I saw the Jones contract, I'm like, what's not only what's going on with the Eagles, but what's going on with the league? Because he played so well down the stretch last season. And if you can get him for $7 million, why not do it? But I digress. With linebacker, be nice to have. I'll tell you what, Bobby Wagner's old, but he's going to the Hall of Fame and he can still play. And he's be the best linebacker this city has seen in a very long time, even at his advanced age. So
he played well for Seattle last year. He played well against the Eagles when the Eagles went out and lost that game in Seattle last year. Is he the Bobby Wagner of the Legion of Boom? No, of course he isn't. But left Seattle, went to the Rams, came back. This past year, they swapped out their coach in Seattle. So maybe that signaled the reason why he left. But he was still a pretty good player. If you're talking just 1 year, and that's all we're talking, that's all Wagner got from the Commanders. I'm guessing that when the season's over and done with, whoever the Eagles fill in for the other linebacker spot, not named Nakobe Dean, I'll bet you Wagner has just as productive a year.
Oh, so do I. I mean, you talk about we've been talking about first ballot Hall of Famers a lot lately. Is this guy a first ballot Hall of Famer? Is this guy a first ballot Hall of Famer? This guy's a 10-time, let me repeat that, 10-time All Pro, not Pro Bowl, All Pro. Now, you know, he has a history with Dan Quinn. Maybe it's that. Eric Kendricks has a history with Mike Zimmer. Maybe it's that. But yeah, it'd be nice if the Eagles would add a linebacker. And I don't care if he's old, young. You know, right now, they're starting linebackers, Jody, all-ball linebackers. I always got to make that stacked linebackers. I always got to make that distinction. Are Nakobe Dean and Ben Van Sumeren. I mean, lucky you're not playing on Sunday. I'll say that.
Still in that starting line. He did play for the Eagles. He got into some games last year because of injuries and issues and the like, but don't need Ben Van Sumeren as a starting linebacker for the Eagles. So that is still Josiah Anderson could call you on Hunting. Well, they could have got Hunting.
Yeah,
they could have got Hunting for Lions. They're right now at best going to bag themselves a big fat rabbit. Not quite the same, but they
I guess you can. I guess you can hunt at the Walmart clearance aisle. You got to pick through stuff, so I guess you can still hunt.
Different type of hunting, exactly. I do want to touch on this story because I was surprised when I read it yesterday. Not surprised by where it came from because Mike Florio, who I've told Mike Florio.
I was wondering if you're going to get it. God bless Mike. Man, he's got 1,001 conspiracy theories. God bless him.
He used to have Mike Florio on as a quasi-regular guest for me, and then he blew up and became a big star and cut a deal with NBC. And Mike Florio likes to get paid to come on here, make guest appearances, and my stature and status doesn't merit being paid.
I respect that because he's Kirk Cousins. Squeeze out every nick you get.
Yeah, more power to him, except if you're the one who loses out. And I was. So I've got an issue with Mike Florio. But it doesn't keep me from saying I think he's a damn good writer. I think he's got good contacts. And I think for the most part, he does an outstanding job. But he does seem to have an issue with Howie Roseman. For some reason, he's always got Howie under the microscope, and he's always looking for something that the Eagles have done.
Now you're going to conspiracy. Now you got one conspiracy theorist. Now you're going down the conspiracy rabbit hole. I don't get that part. I don't think he's got.
All right, let me ask you a question, John. And some people are going, "What the hell are Jody and John talking about?"
Right,
but I think most people know exactly what the story is. He came up with a conspiracy of the Eagles tampering with Saquon Barkley. And the only other place I saw anyone do a follow-up with it, yes, I was Crossing Broad. I didn't see anything about it on Sports Illustrated. I didn't see anything about it on CBS.
I'm going to write about it when I get off the air. That I haven't had time. So much stuff. I'm going to write about it. ESPN wrote about it. The Eagles have denied it because you're going to get the questions over it. Yeah, I mean, look, for those who don't know, there was James Franklin had a press conference. I don't know what they're doing in Penn State. I'm not paying attention to college football, but he had a press
where's Cart when we need him? I'm sure he could quote verbatim what James
maybe they're
Franklin
doing some kind of spring work or whatever. I don't know, but he had a press conference, and you got to ask about Saquon Barkley. And he said, Saquon, you know, one of the pitches about for the Eagles to Saquon, how he was telling him, "Oh, come back, play in Pennsylvania, near, you know, your home," and blah, blah, blah. And all of a sudden, Mike Florio, being Mike Florio, said, "Hey, you're not allowed to do that." And he's 100% right. Executives like Howie Roseman are not permitted to talk to players. They have to talk to agents in the legal negotiation period. Now, my assumption is what happened is it's a tortured game of telephone, right? So Howie said that to Kim Bialy, Saquon Barkley agent, Saquon's agent. She told Saquon what he said. And then Saquon said, hey, Howie said blah, blah, blah to James Franklin. He's just talking off the cuff. Again, people act like these press conferences are in front of Congress where you got that. I mean, he's talking off the cuff. And so to me, it's probably a tortured game of telephone, so to speak, as a kid, when you're saying one person says it, and then the time Bite gets to the end of the line, it comes out differently. And Mike Florio, being Mike Florio and what he is jumping on the, well, you can't do that, but which he's 100% right. Now, I find this ironic because the Eagles, and I joked with Kevin Kincaid over Crossing Broad, I joked, tampering for thee, but not for me. Just joking, because Eagles fans went nuts about Jonathan Gannon and all that stuff.
Right.
And we didn't get Big Fangio. And that was a launch in conspiracy in thousands of bedrooms and basements in the Delaware Valley. Oh, and by the way, the Greek god of defense couldn't have saved this unit last year. They were awful. Oof. Vic Fangio, Jim Johnson coming back.
The Greek god of defense?
No, I said the Greek god of defense, whoever you think that is.
Oh, whoever. I thought you were tying him to
could not have done anything different with this defense last year because of the personnel issues.
Agreed.
Nobody could have saved this. Vic Fangio, Jonathan Gannon, Jim Johnson, Jim Schwartz, not have saved this defense last year. But still to this day, because I get it all the time, a million people think that cost them, that phone call not only cost the Eagles the Super Bowl because Jonathan Gannon was so distracted. He could not properly prepare for the Super Bowl. He prepared for the first half. He couldn't, somehow he prepared for that, but he couldn't prepare for the second half. And then on top of it, you would have had Vic Fangio, and he would have saved that defense last year. It's absurdity. Monty Ossenfort made a mistake. He self-reported it. The Eagles got some draft capital. Now, you move forward to this one as a million more conspiracies. The New York Giants don't seem to give a flip. So right off the bat, that's a division rival. So is there wink tampering in the NFL? Of course there is. Guys talk, guys text. They probably shouldn't. Is it out of the realm of possibility that Howie Roseman sent Saquon Barkley a text at some point? No. I guess, but he's been doing this for a long time. He's probably not going to do it during the negotiating period. He's not going to like Monty Ossenfort was a first-time GM who just got the job and didn't know an arcane rule. That's a lot different from how he's been doing the job since 1945, I think, at this point. And by the way, he's got John Ferrari, the best rules analyst guy in the business, as his assistant GM. So he knows the rules. Is it possible? Yes. It's not going to turn into anything. And you know why it's not going to turn into anything? Even if there was a wink thing, the Giants don't care. Same thing with Vic in Miami. They don't care.
Yeah, but the Giants didn't know until do you think the Giants had Saquon Barkley's phone tapped? How are they going to know?
Because
Florio brought it to everyone's attention yesterday. Have you seen John Mara go on record and go, I don't care?
No, but ESPN again reported the Eagles have denied it. The Giants have not inquired about it already.
It happened yesterday. Are we shaming the Giants for not immediately
I'm
inquiring?
not shaming. I'm saying I'm not shaming them at all. I'm saying they know it's not a big deal. That's not a shame. I'm trying to say it's not a big deal. I'm trying to say
it's not a big deal, John. It's either they're going to be found guilty and they're going to own draft compensation, or they're going to be found not guilty, and then it goes away.
Okay, well, then they're going to be found not guilty. Because even if they tampered, nobody cares. This happens all the time in the NFL.
I keep saying this. What do you mean nobody cares? Have the Giants said we don't care?
Here's you asked me to explain the situation. I'm trying to explain it the best I can. Every team in this league, as we talk about going back to Indianapolis, nobody wants to shine a light on this stuff. The NFL doesn't want a light shot. They've declined to. They've been asked. I asked Brian McCarthy, Maybe he'll answer later in the day. Maybe he won't. My guess is he won't. They don't want to shine it on everybody talking in Indianapolis. They don't want to go down this route. If the Giants do this, the Eagles might come back and say, well, this happened with this team, might happen with this team, and so on and so forth and so forth. So you don't have to believe me. You can wait. It just happened. You can believe in the conspiracy. You can go in the basement. You can go in the bedroom with the rest of the
John,
people.
you've declared it done, over and done with. Yeah, I'm going to wait. I'm not going to sit here and tell you, oh, I think the Eagles screwed up. I think Howie Roseman cheated.
Yes,
I think the Eagles are going to pay with draft picks. No, I'm not saying that, but I'm also saying it's not done yet. It's where the story came to light 18 hours ago.
Has anything happened with Vic Fangio in Miami?
No, not yet.
No, not yet. And you're right. I'm not saying there's not a possibility. The Giants are a division rival. Brandon Brown is their assistant GM who knows Howie Roseman. He used to work here. Maybe they have tremendous angst and maybe they'll make a kerfuffle out of it. I'm saying and you use that word correctly, I'm saying it's going to turn into nothing. I'm willing to bet it's going to turn into nothing. Just like Vic Fangio leaving Miami has turned into nothing. Why? Not necessarily because there was no tampering, but because Miami, A, doesn't care. We're looking to get out of the contract. And B, again, the league as a whole doesn't want a light shined on this type of thing. The difference between Arizona, Monty Ossenfort, rookie GM, self-reported it. And at that point, you're almost saying like, Monty, what are you doing? Stop this. And then you got to remember how weird it was, Jody. The NFL didn't penalize Arizona. They didn't come down and say, you're losing. They negotiated with the Eagles.
True.
So they told these two teams, you know what, go off to the side, give them a little something, and get this the hell out of my office, is essentially what Roger Goodell said. Is there tampering in the NFL? Of course there is. And it's done by 32 teams all the time. They do things they shouldn't do. And the NFL doesn't want the biggest light shined on it. So I'm not saying something untoward. It's impossible something, although, again, the Eagles have denied it. I'm not saying something untoward could not have happened. I'm saying it will amount to nothing. That's what I'm saying.
And that's probably the way it's going to shake out. I agree. I don't think anything's going to come from it, but I'm not ready to give a declarative statement on the results of this at this point yet. The Giants have had very little time to talk about it. And if they think about it, they might go down the Monty Ossenfort road of, yeah, hey, can you look into this for us? And the conspiracy theorist that Florio is, there'll be a digital record. So the NFL...
There will be unless they're using burner phones to talk to Saquon Barkley, which I think he put in his goopy story. Yeah, come on.
I'm just saying there still could be further investigation. Will it lend itself to anything? Probably not. There's probably going to be no compensation here, and it's going to become a forgotten story. But Florio does live for this stuff. He's an attorney. He waits for something like this to happen, and I guarantee he was smiling as he was typing out the story yesterday because he seems to have it in for Howie Roseman, which I don't quite get.
Well, that part, and that is why does he have it in for Howie?
I don't know.
I'll go down your route. No, I'm saying why. I don't think he does have it in for Howie. I'm saying why do you think?
Have you seen some? He's had Howie a couple times on his TV show. Have you seen those interviews?
I saw one where he's going back and forth, and I know what you're talking about. I can't remember what it was about, but I mean, I have no problem with people pushing because Howie doesn't say anything. So,
but if you're watching up Pro Football Talk, I don't do. If Florio was like Mike Wallace and he treated every guest as if it was an inquisition, then I go, all right, that's Mike Florio. That's the way he does his job, the way he chooses to do a job. More power to him. He doesn't. He gets guys on, he glad hands them, he slaps them on the back. But when Howie gets on that show, he does. He treats them like it's a congressional hearing. And he does really kind of put the screws to him. And I'm not sure why.
Yeah, that I don't watch enough Pro Football Talk to know his common personality or theme of how he handles people. Maybe he does. I don't think he does. I don't think he has it in for Howie Roseman. But maybe I don't think he's a Giants fan or Cowboys fan or Commanders fan. So I don't know why he would have it in for Howie.
That's why it sticks out like a sore thumb, John. To Florio's credit, he's pretty open-ended. He doesn't wear his rooting interests on his sleeve. He doesn't get guys on and glad hand them and treat them well, and others that he doesn't do that. But I'm telling you, Justin, I watch enough Pro Football Talk to be able to say he seems to be a lot more harsh in his interviews with Howie Roseman than he does with others. And I think he enjoyed being able to at least potentially put something out there that the Eagles were cheating. I'm with you. I don't think anything's going to happen, but I think we do need to let this story play itself out a little bit. All right, we got Mac and Mac guys here. Mike Gill, not yet in the waiting.
Yeah,
Where's Mike Gill?
I got a text Mike. He might have forgotten it was pushed back. You know how he's usually a Wednesday guy. So.
He's usually a Wednesday guy, and usually he's in by 20 minutes after the hour.
That's my conspiracy. He forgot.
You and I end up talking and holding Mike Gill, but he hasn't joined us yet. But we're going to have faith that Mike Gill is going to respond to John McMullen's text, of which there'll be a digital record if there's an investigation.
I got to delete that. How do you wash your phone?
Yeah, this is John's actual usual phone. He doesn't have a burner to call Mike Gill on. So there will be a digital record of him reaching out to Mike Gill, and hopefully there's an appearance of Mike Gill coming back with us next here on Birds 365.